Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome to another episode of Mingles with Jingles. This week, sponsored by Incogni. You're probably aware that thousands of companies are collecting, aggregating and trading your personal data without you knowing anything about it. They get this information from data brokers. Now you have the right to request data brokers, delete what information they have about you and protect your privacy. The bad news is you probably don't even know who these data brokers are, and even if you did, it would take you years to do it manually. Incogni does the messy work for you. It helps you protect your privacy, take your personal data off the market by reaching out to data brokers on your behalf, demanding that they delete any data that they hold on you, dealing with their objections, and ensuring that you get added to what's known as an exclusion list, so they can't just recollect your data and use it again. All you have to do to get started is head over to incogni.com/jingles and use code JINGLES to get an exclusive offer of 60% off. Create your Incogni account, tell them whose personal data you want removed, and just let Incogni take care of the rest. They'll keep you up to date with the monthly progress report, and they continue checking any data brokers that they have contacted to ensure that they remain in compliance. So that's incogni.com/jingles, use code JINGLES at checkout, and get 60% off your Incogni plan. So, anyway, I've been playing an awful lot of the Forever Winter this week. Not the Forever War, which I mistakenly referred to it as in a previous episode of Mingles with Jingles, which is, of course, a fantastic science fiction novel by Joe Haldeman. Definitely worth a read. Also available in graphic novel form, by the way, equally as good. But no, the Forever Winter, it's a game out in early access, where you're not really the hero of the show. It's kind of like an extraction shooter. I have mentioned this in a previous episode of Mingles with Jingles, and I didn't think I would enjoy it because I'm not really into extraction shooters like, Escape from Tarkov. But whereas in Escape from Tarkov, you're you're very much the hero. You're a badass private military contractor killing machine. That is very much not the case in the Forever Winter. The character that you start off with is called the Old Man, because he's an old man. He's armed with a surplus rifle with a 10-shot magazine and a pump-action shotgun with 6 shells, and the game has a brick wall difficulty curve. It's very, very hard to get into. And I think by design, also, if you're crap, it's always going to be a bit of a struggle. I had wanted to actually show you some Forever Winter footage in the background of this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles, because I have recorded about an hour, but all of it's unusable. I'll show you what I mean. What you're talking about, Jingles, doesn't look too bad. Yeah, just wait until I move. There it is. I must clarify, it does not look like this when I'm playing. I got a nice smooth 60 frames per second in 4K resolution. But when recording video, well, for a start, NVIDIA Shadowplay just doesn't work. I press the record button and it says recording has been saved. I don't want you to save, I want you to start recording, and then save it when I stop recording. But no matter what I do, I cannot get NVIDIA Shadowplay to work. And this is the best that Bandicam can do. And it's bloody horrible. Again, I must stress, it doesn't look like this when I'm playing. It's fine when I'm playing. It looks great. It handles great. But, well, anything that I record either doesn't work if I'm using Shadowplay, or it looks like this if I'm using Bandicam. So it's a shame, because I was hoping to... I don't want to give up. I was hoping to do some videos on this game, because more people need to know about it. It's an amazing game. But until I can figure out my video recording issues, that ain't going to happen. There's plenty of videos out there on YouTube, so you don't need to sit around waiting for me to put something together. But yeah, the game. So, the Forever Winter. War's been raging since forever. You're this scavenger stuck in the middle of it, just trying to survive one day at a time. Very, very tough game to get into, because you play this old man. There are a bunch of different characters that you can play, but this is the one you start with, armed with a surplus rifle with a 10-round magazine and a pump-action shotgun. And it's really, really hard. You start with a couple of days' supply of water, and it's effectively game over if you run out of water. But you can only actually scavenge one day's worth of water at a time. And first of all, you need to find the stuff. And therein lies the difficulty, at least at first, because, once you've gotten a dozen hours or so into it, you pretty much know where the water can spawn on each various different map. But at the start, you have no idea. You don't even know what a water container looks like. And if you run out of water, it's basically game over. All of the various different vendors that keep your hub of operations, it's called the innards, that keep it alive, they will not stick around if you don't have any water for them. So if you run out of water, sayonara, sucker, and you don't know where to find water. You don't know what it looks like, even if you were to trip over it. I mean, you know what water looks like, but you don't know what the water containers look like. And everything can and will kill you. You don't even know what you can kill. I mean, you can take it for granted that if there's a 30-metre tall mech lumbering around with guns the size of Mercedes SLRs, then yeah, you're probably not going to take that down with a rifle. But at the other end of the scale, you've got all kinds of things, ranging from badly damaged cyborgs crawling around on their arms, kind of like, half-killed zombies, to various different soldiers for the various different factions. You can kill them, surely. Well, in theory, yeah. In practice, it's not quite that simple, because they can kill you too. Remember, this is not Escape from Tarkov. You are exceptionally fragile. And so your first probably 6 or 7 hours playing the Forever Winter, you're just going to be dying over and over and over again until you figure out what you can safely take on, which is not a lot, and where is all the stuff that you're going to need. But once you get over that initial hump, and it does take some getting over, holy crap, this game is good. I mean, I never thought I would enjoy anything like this, because at its heart it is an extraction shooter, and I can't stand Escape from Tarkov. But this game, wow.
Work our way through.
Yeah, unfortunately, this background video is just too shonky at the moment. Until I figure out exactly how the hell I get Shadowplay working to record my gameplay sessions, I mean, Bandicam clearly isn't cutting it. I mean, you can see my frame rate. Green numbers there in the top left corner of the screen. That's my NVIDIA overlay. I mean, it's never dropping below 57 frames per second. It's fine when I'm playing it. It's just the recording that ends up looking like this. Anyway, I think I've inflicted quite enough of this virtual slideshow on you, so let's get back to something with a smooth as butter frame rate while we move the conversation along. So, yeah, the Forever Winter. In early access now on Steam. Brutally tough game to get into. But once you get over that initial first half dozen hour hump and you figure out what you can safely handle and what you can't, and where to find everything that you're going to need to survive, once you get over that stage, it is one hell of a game. What I don't understand, though, because it is very tough at first, and I talked about this when I first brought the subject of this title up in a previous episode of Mingles with Jingles, is the water mechanic. Because, like I said, if you run out of water, all of your vendors and suppliers, everybody leaves your base, they desert you. Because without water, well, they need to drink, so they'll go somewhere else. Somebody who can actually supply them with water. So, that's fine. That's not an issue. What's an issue, and yet also at the same time not an issue, which is kind of the problem, you'll see what I mean, is that your water depletes in real time. So let's say you've got the weekend and you settle down to play some Forever Winter. And over the course of the weekend's gaming, you accumulate another 4 days worth of water. So you've now got 6 days worth of water, except you haven't. You now actually only have 4 days because it's taken you 2 days to accumulate that water while playing over the weekend. So potentially, if you can only play at weekends, it's going to be another 5 days before you can log in and play again, at which point you will have run out of water and your base will be abandoned and it's effectively game over. Now, when I brought this up the last time I discussed the Forever Winter, people did say it's not actually that much of an issue. It's not difficult to get water. Well, they're not wrong. I mean, once you get over that initial hump, it really is not that difficult to get a decent supply of water. You complete missions for various different factions and they will reward you with water. And once you know where the water spawn locations are, on the various different maps that you're going to be extracting from, you can generally at least pick up 1 day's supply of water every time you go out. And you can go out multiple times per day, as many hours as you have available for gaming. So, yeah, they're right. It isn't that difficult to get an adequate water supply. Once you've gotten to the stage where you know where the water spawn locations are, you've done some missions for the various different faction vendors, you've upgraded your character and your gear to the stage where if you get spotted while you're stealing water, you don't instantly get murdered. Once you get to that stage, the whole water issue isn't an issue. But it is an issue at first, when everything else is already as hard as it's ever going to get. Do you see my point? I really don't know why the developers have picked this particular hill to die on. I mean, it's a very, very tough game to get into. And the whole water thing is just even more of a bar to entry for a new player. I mean, I had to effectively wipe my save files and restart again multiple times because I just kept running out of water. Every time I went out, I would get killed. I'd find some water and I'd just get killed before I could extract. So eventually I ran out. But in the process of doing that, I was learning where the water spawn locations were, what kind of fights I could and couldn't safely get into, until I got to the stage where, after many, many hours of frustration, the whole water issue stopped being an issue. And if it stops being an issue, and it does stop being an issue, why the hell make an issue out of it? If it's only going to be making it even more difficult, making an extremely tough game even more difficult for new players, why have that mechanic at all if it basically becomes irrelevant once you get over that initial hump? Because I nearly gave up on this game many times until I did eventually get over that hump, and now I'm effectively self-sufficient. I mean, I can still get killed when going out on an extraction. It's still very easy for me to overestimate my chances of success in any particular encounter, or maybe not be paying attention to what's behind me when I suddenly decide to take the chance on eliminating a patrol ahead of me, and bang, dead. Lost everything. But I've got loads of cash. I can resupply all of the stuff that I've lost. I've got 25 days worth of water, so if I was carrying 2 days of water and I ended up getting my ass killed, it's not the end of the world. But on the other hand, if I was a new player and I didn't have a ton of cash and I didn't have access to various different vendors and have trusted reputation with all of them, and I couldn't afford to restock the AK-47 that I'd just unlocked and had to go back to using the surplus rifle with a 10-round magazine, and if I only had 1 day of water left back at the base, and the 1 day of water that I got killed carrying was therefore of critical importance because the few vendors that I had unlocked were about to desert me, and if I'd only found one water spawn location in my first few hours of playing, and the next time I went out with my shitty surplus rifle to try to recover more water, and the water hadn't actually spawned at that location on this particular run, wipe your save file, start again. You see what I'm saying here? You get to a certain point, water is no longer an issue. So why make it an issue at all? Because it's just a barrier to entry for new players in a game that's already extremely tough to get into. But once you do get into it, oh wow, it is so addictive. I mean, questionable water mechanics aside, I love everything about the Forever Winter. I'm still learning things about it as well. Just today, while I was recording some of the footage that you just watched, the weirdest thing happened. I didn't realise, because it's a cooperative game as well, by the way. You can play it solo, you can play it co-op, you can hire recruits from one of the vendors. They're not particularly good AI backup to accompany you. But other people can drop into your games. I wasn't aware of this. By default, your game is set to public, and there is a sort of server browser where you can join other people's games. You can also set your games to private or invitation only or whatever, but I didn't realise. And I embarked on this one mission, and there was somebody else in the ready room, and I didn't realise that it was another player. And I wasn't playing with a headset or microphone or anything on. I thought that for some reason maybe the mission that I just accepted involved me taking this NPC. I wasn't sure anyway. It was too late. They were already there in the ready room. So I launched into the mission. If your name's Calippo, by the way, if your in-game name in the Forever Winter is Calippo, I am so sorry. I didn't realise you were a player. I thought you were a bot. I thought you were some kind of NPC spawned by the mission that I was on. So when I took on a room full of Euruscan soldiers and you got slaughtered in the crossfire and I looted your corpse, I honestly didn't realise you were another player. If I'd known, I would have used a first aid kit on you and gotten you back up, but what can I say? I'm crap. It wasn't until afterwards when I thought, hang on a minute, and I actually went and looked into my game settings and realised that all of my matches were public. I thought, oh shit. So if your name is Calippo and you ended up getting slaughtered in the crossfire when you joined a game session with Jingles on Sunday morning, I am so sorry. I hope to be able to make it up to you one day. I hope that wasn't somebody who actually knows me. I hope somebody wasn't playing the Forever Winter, checked out the game browser and said, oh, look, it's Jingles. I'll join him. And then I completely ignored them, got them killed, and looted their corpse. It's probably all over Reddit by now. I joined the mighty Jingles in Forever Winter, and he's such an arsehole. Well, if that's happened, then I kind of deserve it. Honestly, I didn't know. I am so crap. But anyway, great game. Remarkably stable. I mean, it's effectively an alpha. It's available in early access on Steam. Even though it's an early access alpha, I mean, it's more stable than a lot of AAA games that have come out recently. It's never crashed on me. Starfield can't say the same thing. Oh yeah, speaking of Starfield, Starfield's first expansion is out. Although calling it an expansion is it's a bit of a stretch. Shattered Space, available on Steam. $30-ish, $25.99 in British money. Maybe a bit overpriced. Haven't played it myself, because why the hell would I? But the people who have, not impressed. Mostly negative reviews on Steam. Only 30% of the nearly 3,000 Steam reviews are positive. Mostly to do with... Well, apparently the new dungeon in it is quite well crafted. You know, it's the kind of thing that Bethesda have traditionally done well. Handcrafted, curated content, which makes the whole let's do everything with procedural generation thing in Starfield one of the more bizarre decisions that Bethesda have made in recent years. But it's the whole duration of the thing. People were buying it, downloading it, playing it, and finishing the whole thing the same afternoon. Apparently this DLC/expansion has more than a hint of the Star Wars Outlaws about it. You know, it's alright, it's not bad, but it is by no means worth the money that they're charging for it. When was the last time Bethesda did anything good? Genuine question, because it certainly wasn't Shattered Space, and it absolutely wasn't Starfield. So what did they do before Starfield? Yeah, that would be Fallout 76. A game that was so bad, it makes Starfield look like Game of the Year material. Oh, yeah, I could spend the next hour going on about what was wrong with Fallout 76, but, well, time is short. So what did they do before Fallout 76? That would be Fallout 4. Opinion on Fallout 4 is divided. There are a lot of people who think it's the weakest game in the Fallout series. And to be fair, they have a point. But it wasn't a bad game. I really enjoyed it. I mean, just that I should probably clarify, just because I enjoy something doesn't mean it's any good. I actually enjoyed Starfield. I enjoyed Star Wars Outlaws. You know, it's possible to like something while still acknowledging that it's either A, not very good, and B, in no way worth the money that you had to pay for it. But Fallout 4 wasn't bad. I hope we can all at least agree on that. So the last time Bethesda did something that wasn't just bad was Fallout 4. And that was in 2015. That was 9 years, it's nearly 10 years ago. So hopefully we can all agree that Bethesda haven't done anything good in nearly 10 years. In fact, even as a publisher, they've been responsible for some stinkers in the last few years as well. Redfall, anybody? Yeah, the less said about that, the better too. Is Bethesda done? Are they over? Should we be holding out any kind of hope whatsoever for the Elder Scrolls 6? It's difficult to say with any degree of certainty because Bethesda Game Studios and their parent company, Bethesda Softworks, they're both private companies, so they don't have a stock price that you can track. And while they have no announced release dates for the Elder Scrolls 6 or Fallout 5, I'm not entirely sure that the studio is still going to be around in the length of time that it's going to take to get either of those two titles out the door. I'll tell you who does have a stock price though. Ubisoft. And it is not looking good. Ubisoft's stock just reached a 10-year low. Things are so bad over at Ubisoft at the moment that their investors have published a list of demands. 1, they want the CEO fired. 2, they want control of the company taken out of the hands of the Guillemot family, or however the hell you pronounce that. And they want the company to be taken private. Oh, and all of their French employees are going on strike. And they're a French company, so, that's kind of bad. The company have launched an internal investigation to try to find out exactly where it all went wrong. I'll tell you where it all went wrong. Everybody hates you. Everybody hates you because you haven't released anything genuinely good since Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and everything that you have released since has either been or outright bad. Far Cry 6, Skull and Bones, Star Wars Outlaws. Pains me to say it, but I acknowledge that it is not a great game. An expectation is high that they're about to shit the bed enormously with Assassin's Creed Shadows. This would be the equivalent of somebody like Rockstar releasing the next Grand Theft Auto game and nobody wanting to play it because they all hate Rockstar, which is almost certainly what's about to happen with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Also, well, I kind of expect it to be shit too. The Japanese are up in arms about the roughshod way that Ubisoft have been treading all over their culture. I mean, aside from many other things, apparently I can only suggest that the same thing has happened with Assassin's Creed Shadows as happened in Far Cry 6. Ubisoft hired a bunch of game designers who were sort of vaguely aware of the subject that they were modelling. Oh yeah, guns. Yeah, I've seen guns on TV. I can do those. And so in Far Cry 6, you went up with AK-47s that all had the cock and handle on the left-hand side of the gun, And in Assassin's Creed Shadows, apparently all of the architecture was modelled by people whose experience of the subject was limited to, oh yeah, I can do that. I saw Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And they can't tell the difference between Japanese and Chinese architecture in a game set in feudal Japan. Yeah, it really is as bad as that. So, yeah, I don't have any great hopes for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I certainly won't be giving Ubisoft any money for it. I'm quite happy to let that particular disaster play out without any input from me. Honestly, I just hope it brings them down as a studio. I mean, yeah, that would be a shame for their employees. Well, some of their employees. But the AAA gaming industry needs to be taught a lesson, and if we have to bring down Ubisoft in order to do it, well, that seems like a perfectly reasonable price to pay, and hopefully the rest of the AAA gaming industry will finally sit up and start paying attention. And on that bombshell, that's it for this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles. I hope you've enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.